My name's Caitlin Meeks, and I'm talking to you about Apex Plastics. So what is it? Apex Plastics is a plastic bottle company where they produce bottles for all different other kinds of companies, and they are a part of PCE, which is Plastic Companies Enterprises, which is located in Lincoln, Nebraska. Apex is also FDA approved, so we are able to produce bottles that food and oil and stuff like that goes into. I say we because I work there, so if I say we throughout the rest of this, that's why. It is located at 570 South Main Street in Brookfield, Missouri, right beside Pringers. Some jobs that are offered are supervisor positions, office positions, production workers, and there's 4 different shifts, so you can work Sunday through Tuesday, morning or night, 12-hour shifts, starts at 8, ends at 8, or you can work Wednesday through Friday, same times. You can also be maintenance or setup, so you are in charge of just the machines on making sure they're doing what they need to do. Or you can be in the warehouse, making sure all the boxes are labeled right and stacked properly and then put onto the semi-trucks to be loaded off. Or you can be a temporary worker and go through flexible staffing located in Chillicothe, Missouri, and work whatever days you want at Apex, and there is a pay difference, but it's only $1 difference. But you get to choice of working Sunday, Wednesday, Friday if you wanted to, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's really just up to you, but it also depends on if Apex needs you or not, because sometimes they don't need temporaries that often. So the bottle production, how it happens. So these plastic pellets are loaded into hoppers, which are at the top of every machine that they have. And what the plastic pellets do is they go through the hopper into the machine, and the machine melts it to a really warm, like putty-like consistency, and it comes through this little tube, and then it just keeps going down, and then it'll stop, and then the mold closes up around it, and then some air will be blown through the plastic to help cool it down, but also to blow it into the mold so it takes the shape of the mold. And then there's cold water that runs through it all to cool it all off fairly quickly, and then as soon as the mold opens up, the bottle that is left falls out onto a conveyor belt, which is then put onto another conveyor belt that goes down this line to what they call the trim line, and there is a production worker that stands there, and what they do is they look at all the bottles that come down, they trim off the excess plastic, usually with their hands, and then they toss it over to another line that goes to a pack table where another production worker just packs it and also looks at it to make sure it's right. Or they put it through a leak detector that shoots air into the bottles to make sure there's no holes. For like our oil bottles, they can't have any holes in them, so they go through a leak detector, and if there is a hole or it's not setting right on the line, it'll shoot the bottle out, and you look at it, and then you put it back through, and then that'll eventually drop off onto the pack table as well. All the bottles there get packed, and all of them get trimmed. There's just some of them get leak detected, and then some of them also get labeled, like the orange juice and some of the oil bottles, they get labeled there with a labeler, and that's kind of a whole different process, but it don't happen very often. So once there's enough boxes to fill a skid, they get taken out to the warehouse, and the warehouse people make sure all of the labels on the boxes are visible and filled out and on the appropriate skid. And then they take saran wrap and they wrap it all the way around the skid to make sure none of the boxes fall off, and then they stack them on top of each other in a different area of the warehouse so they're available to be put onto the semi trucks when the semis get there. And for the auditor, which is another position, but their job is to just inspect the bottles and make sure they're where they're supposed to be. But there's a little area in the warehouse where the auditor will bring pallets and skids of boxes that need to be saran wrapped to that little area, so the warehouse guys know that those need to be looked at and wrapped, and then they're ready to go. Once the customers receive them, they peel off the saran wrap, and then they look in the boxes and check the bottles out and make sure they're all right. If they find some with contamination in them or holes in the bottles or they're all dented, then they'll send the whole order back to Apex, where the production workers get to sort through all of the bottles and then get the bad ones out, and then however many is left, if it need to be, then the setup and maintenance guys will switch over a machine back to that bottle, and then they'll run it again to finish filling the order if the customer needs those bottles, and then they get shipped back to the customer again, and the whole process starts again with that. But the only thing is it ends up costing Apex money when they do that, because Apex has to pay the shipping to get the order back to them, and then they have to pay the employees overtime for, if need to be, for staying over after their shift or coming in on a different shift on a day they don't work and sorting bottles. And then it also puts them behind and costs them money by having to switch that machine from what it was doing back to something else. So that puts that order behind, and customers don't like it when the orders are behind. There is a promise date on every order, and if they do not meet that promise date, then it just costs them money. So they try to make sure they meet that promise date all the time. The other thing is with Apex, since they are FDA approved, every person that goes out onto the plant floor has to wear sleeves, like cotton sleeves, or a lab coat that's provided, earplugs, a hairnet, a beard net if there's facial hair visible, gloves, usually wool gloves, and then sometimes they have to wear safety glasses. There's a room called the utility room, and that's where all the bottles get ground up to be recycled and used again in different bottles. And the chunks from the grinders, they come back out of them, so that's why there has to be safety glasses in that room. But earplugs are mandatory regardless of your hearing situation, just because it is so loud in there and they have so many big machines that it's just not possible for them to let a few people slide without having to use earplugs, even if they are deaf. But to find out more information about Apex or about jobs, you can contact them at their toll-free number, which is 800-467-4640. You can fax them at 660-258-2968. For the temporary positions, you go through Flexible Staffing in Chillicothe. You just walk in, fill out an application, and then they drug test you, and then they'll put you on the list, and then when Apex needs you, you'll get a phone call. or you can check out their website, apexplastics.com. So if you have any other questions or you just want a tour, anything like that, just feel free to contact them and they'll be more than happy to do so. Thank you.